Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Collider studio at San Diego Comic-Con 2023. I am beyond thrilled to be here with Gareth Edwards talking about what I can say is one of my most anticipated movies of 2023, The Creator. I mean, I obviously haven't seen the movie, but my God, that trailer is incredible. Who cut that trailer? That is a beautifully edited piece.
Thank you. Well, I can't take credit for it. It was Disney. So the whole Disney marketing machine, it was probably an editor, obviously. I don't know their name, basically. This stuff kind of gets presented to you as like when it's close to being ready. And you sort of see a few different posters, you see some of the trailers, and it's just, you know, as a group decision, we sort of hone in on something, and then you're allowed to change a couple of shots if it bothers you or whatever. They're very inclusive, and yeah, I was worried it was the wrong choice, because I was like, I just got paranoid about it. You know, like, you're so close to a movie.
What part of it?
I don't know. I was worried, like, Aerosmith.
Oh,
Like,
well.
I love Aerosmith. I love that song, Dream On. But I was just kind of paranoid that it didn't, I don't know, somehow, because it's not in the movie, you know, and then I was completely wrong, because everyone seemed to have a good reaction.
It's having a huge reaction.
And Steve Tyler owes me a Lamborghini now.
He owes you a Lamborghini.
The money they got for that trailer. So
I mean,
I'll take a Ferrari.
Okay. That seems like an even trade right there. I'm a big believer that trailers are also made by artists, and that is one in particular that I've seen in recent years that really does feel like I could feel the craftsmanship behind it, and I appreciate it.
Genuinely, not to get sidetracked, there is a way trailers seem to function that I really am obsessed with, where they can tell stories and get storytelling done so quick, and they don't get locked into this thing of like wide shot, you know, over your shoulder, over their shoulder, conversation. It's all like abstract, dreamlike stuff that just jumps around and you can follow it. And I, like, in my mind, I'm like, I just want to do a whole movie like that. You know what I mean? Like, but would it get too much? Would it just be overload?
I don't know. I like the sound of a challenge like that. I hope you do it one day now.
That's my life's challenge now from here on out.
So we'll have to circle back. When you make that movie, I'll be here to do the interview.
Yeah. If Steve Tyler has some more songs that he'll sell,
Yeah, really.
it would be good.
More cars too. Talking about the creator and the evolution of the idea, I am curious. I love asking this question because I love hearing about how things change along the way. What would you say is the biggest difference between draft one of this screenplay and what you wound up with in the finished feature?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. What's the biggest difference? Draft one, I'm trying to remember. I don't think it might not be the biggest difference. It's the thing I remember is there's antagonists in the movie. In my first draft, there was Joshua, who's played by John David, who was basically on this sort of odyssey across this futuristic war zone with this child, and being pursued by one side, and I guess in the next draft he's pursued by both sides now.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Which is way better.
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't think of that in the first place. That was a note I got.
It definitely sounds like a richer, more well-layered story right there. I like that. What about in terms of how the conversation about AI evolved from draft one to finished film? Did you ever find any of that kind of, you know, conversations and the warnings about what AI could do to the world influencing how you tackle that material in the film?
No, it was like, I mean, basically, the movie was always like the world is divided in two. Half the world has banned AI. They hate it. It's wrong. It caused some real big problems. And the other half of the movie's embraced it, carried on developing it to the point where it's now human-like. And so it's kind of an East versus West kind of situation at the start. And at the very beginning, it was like, but why would you ban it? You know what I mean? Like, and it was genuinely every single reaction to the screenplay was, why would anyone ban AI? It's like this amazing thing. And so then I had to kind of invent scenario where you might reject it, right? And weirdly now, the way things are going, it's like the default setting is ban it, right? And it's a strange reaction that we've all had to this technology. It's like this freaky mirror that, hang on, how come this is, there's no one home, but yet it seems so real.
Would you describe the film as a cautionary tale regarding AI, or is it more so the film heavily leaning into presenting AI as the other?
It's presenting AI as the other, but it ends up we don't fully, well, no spoilers, right?
Of course not.
I like films that are gray, that are not like black and white, and where you sort of experience the full conversation of both sides.
Okay.
And it's up to you how you end up feeling about it at the end.
I appreciate that. It means I get an enjoyable experience in the theater, but it weighs heavily on my mind thereafter.
Yeah, we
and I
found when we
love
did
that.
test screenings and stuff, when we showed people, everybody needed some time. Like, you kind of want to switch the lights on and go, okay, what did you think? And everybody needed to think about it. And it was like, it was really interesting because you kind of hope for that in a weird way, but it was quite a predictable response. It was a lot, you know what I mean? And we were used to it. We'd seen it so many times, and like trying to find the right condensed rhythm of the movie, and I like that idea that it's something that bounces around afterwards, like you're not sure how you feel about it, kind of thing.
And it's something that I imagine gets like richer and richer with every single rewatch, where it leaves the door open for your feelings about it and your interpretation of it to change, which is very exciting to me.
It definitely gets richer with every rewatch, where you pay like $20 to go see it again in the theater. I recommend at least 10 viewings
Okay.
if you can do it.
Fair enough. All right, to get into a little bit of the world building here. So John David's character has to go to New Asia to locate this AI. Are you able to tease what the rest of the world looks like? Is like nothing in this movie in terms of how the world is set up like our reality is now?
I try to avoid like this big kind of geopolitical lesson at the start of the film. So you only really kind of hear about things you need to know about. New Asia being one of them. It's left to the audience what some other aspects of the world is going on. But New Asia is basically this region of Southeast Asia and Japan where the borders because of this war against AI, the borders have sort of dissolved, and different people from different countries and AI from different areas have all come together to kind of fight the West, who are trying to like eradicate AI from the world.
Just curious, did you pinpoint a specific year that the movie takes place in?
I did, and I've made a mistake because I should have picked 2024, but I picked 2070 because I didn't want to make the mistake Kubrick made of like 2001 not being true. So I was like, I'm going to pick something way downstream, and it was like, oh God, it's probably next year.
That's like the conversation we keep having now. This is very random, but there's one thing I keep remembering from when I was a kid going to sleepaway camp, and they always used to make a joke that like in the future it will be like like a camp trip for that particular group to the moon, and
Okay.
like we got like now there's like people that are buying tickets to go to the moon, and it's just something that we never used to think was going to be a reality. It was just a joke that we used to say, and now it's happening.
Yeah, there's certain things, if you'd said like, okay, predict out of all these things, jetpacks, going to the moon, whatever, what are the things that you think science fiction is going to achieve in your lifetime? I didn't really have AI as like a definite, I thought we might land on Mars again, maybe before I died, but this was like eons away, and then suddenly, and even the experts said it, like they thought it was like 30 years away, and it turned out when they started kind of mimicking the way the human brain works and creating these like neuron networks, it's actually quite straightforward, and this magical thing happens where it's kind of like, unless you're religious, it's just a bunch of switches, and if you mimic it, guess what happens? It kind of seems like it's alive, and the big question is, I think the things they have right now are probably not, they're these large language model stuff like ChatGPT and that, but it's coming. Like, and the people working on it are like, you just chuck enough resources at this stuff, like make it big enough, give it enough training, and everyone's expectation is that we'll have something akin to us in a few years or so.
I don't know why this just came to mind, and I don't know if you've thought this through in terms of your backstory, but the thing that kicked in this world that the movie takes place in, the thing that kicked off the creation of robots in general and this AI that ultimately led to this war that the movie is exploring, are those things that exist in like our real world reality now?
So it's a nuclear bomb, right? detonated, and in the same way that I don't want to pick a famous make of electric car, but you know how self-driving car might crash, and it's through some random, it's nothing malicious, it's just a random accidental thing with the algorithm, like a simple error, and it results, like in military hardware, like that could cause horrific consequences. And so it's like, it's one of those, and all it's going to take is one of those moments, like where a plane just falls out of the sky or something, where everyone goes, okay, we can't do this anymore. Like, this is too risky. Like, we need to figure this out. And so it's off the back of that kind of event that AI gets banned. And you can imagine, like, the idea was, we don't have time in the movie to get into this, but the idea that, like, things would come with little stickers and like logos that say, like, AI free, like, don't worry, kind of thing. And it creates this kind of movement against AI, which we sort of see in. Like, we shot scenes in Thailand with people with protest signs for and against AI, thinking this is like kind of absurd. And now, like, I live very near the studios, and we drive past, and it's exactly what's happening.
The thing about the stickers, it does feel like something that could be very much in the realm of possibility in the near future. That's kind of blowing my mind right now. I didn't want to end this conversation without talking about your production process here, because I'm fascinated by the idea that you went to a whole bunch of different countries, and then you did a whole lot of the work in post to really build out this kind of futuristic scenario here. I am really curious, because a hot topic of conversation right now is overspending on films. Is that a more cost-effective way to make a movie like this? And is that something that is specific to this story, or are those techniques that could benefit other productions in the future?
I think it's not unique to this film whatsoever, the sort of ways we did stuff. And it's like, what happens on a movie is, at some point you get sat down and they say, you can't do this. Why not? Because we don't have enough money. I thought we had X $100 million. And they say, we do, but like, we can't afford to do that. And you go, hang on, explain this. Come on, hang on, this makes no sense. And someone will go through line by line, and you'll go, but why are we spending on it? Why is this? And it's like there's so much, I think, like, hemorrhaging of money. Where basically what I put it down to, the very simple analogy is if you had a dollar bill, the way filmmaking works is they buy a $5 case to protect that dollar bill, because they don't want to lose the dollar, right? And now they look at it and go, oh, hang on, that's $6. We need to buy a $10, like, cabinet to put this in to protect our $6 investment. Oh, wait a minute, that's $16. Oh, we need to, and they basically spend more and more and more to protect it and protect it and protect it. If you just say at the very beginning, you know what, we're going to spend $1, we're not going to protect it. If we lose it, we've lost $1, and we'll just spend another dollar doing it again. And that's kind of was the philosophy of, like, let's spend as little as possible. Let's go out on a limb. If something fails, doesn't work, we'll just do it again, right? We'll figure a way around it. And we had a mantra with the producer on the film, which is, I think our movie ended up turning it's a lot of money. It's $80 million. It's a lot of money. And the mantra was like, no, we never want to hear. I never want to hear anyone ever say, we can't afford to do that. We only have $80 million, right? And so if no one's allowed to say that, you can kind of do anything. Like, you can do anything. It's just choosing what you're not going to do, you know?
Mm-hmm. I feel like more folks out there should have that weighing heavier on their mind than they do often. I lie. I have another behind the scenes questions, because I really wanted to ask about working with 2 cinematographers on this. Can you walk us through why that became necessary on this project? And also because, like, Greg is one of the best, and I just saw Oren's last feature film, and he just seems like a name on the rise in that particular field that excites me.
Yeah, so Greg's like one of the few people in the world I would trust, like, to like give a camera to and say, you shoot it, try and get this kind of shot, and just hand it over. He's got an amazing eye, amazing everything. The whole world seems to know that now. And so we started building up to this movie, and this other movie called June, June 2, was sort of on the horizon.
Never heard of it.
No, it's a small indie, little sci-fi thing. It's doing the festivals. He was, like, obviously in a position that he had to do that. And so I was like secretly praying that they weren't going to clash. And obviously at some point that started to be like, they're going to clash. And so it was like, Greg, okay, let's scour the world. Who's the best newcomer out there? And after a lot of conversations, Greg was like, there's this guy, Oren Sofer, and I think you should take a look at his work. And he's kind of a little protege of mine, and I've been kind of working with him on other stuff. And so I looked at Oren's work. He was really strong. The chat with Oren, really liked him. And so basically there was this transition that happened, and Greg carried on remotely, but Oren like picked up the reins. And I mean, I'm really excited for people to see the film, because one of the main takeaway feelings is, who did that? You know what I mean? Like, and so I think I'd like to be Oren's agent right now, because they can go, with Steve Tyler, they can go buy a Ferrari for me, I think.
I like that. Did you see Fixation?
Yeah.
It's
I'm
stunning.
I don't even like cars. I don't know why I'm saying this.
It is something else. I'm very excited to see his work. My last question for you, because I'm always fascinated about choosing the right title for a movie, and I know you changed from True Love to The Creator, so can you kind of walk us through determining that True Love had to go and The Creator was the best way to, essentially introduce people to the idea, because first and foremost, they see title before they experience anything else?
Yeah, I mean, you have a working title when you make a film, and the most important day is the first day you're going to announce it to the world, stick it on a poster, any of that stuff, and you just got to decide before then, like, is that the title? And the whole time I was making this, my feeling was, when you watch the movie, like, people who have seen it go, I see why you wanted to call it True Love, right? But ahead of going to see it, if you just go to some random person in the street and go, do you want to see a film called True Love? They're like, I'm not really into rom-coms, You go, oh, it's not that. And I sort of didn't want to spend my life having everyone come up to me going, oh my God, I just saw True Love or whatever it was. And I didn't realize it was like that kind of movie. And so Disney, with all their common sense, were like, basically like, we feel a great title would be The Creator. And it's in the movie a lot. And it made a lot of sense. And I'm very glad we changed it now. It's strange when you have a child who's identified as one name, and then suddenly, like, you have to get used to calling it something else. I'm just over that now. Like, now I find myself accidentally saying The Creator all the time. But for a while it was True Love. But they both, when you see the movie, it makes sense. Yeah. It's like they called Blade Runner was Dangerous Days, and there's a lot of like working titles for films that when you hear them, you're like, okay. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that would have worked. Yeah. But
it makes sense, but there's reasons that you change it, and the reason you change it is to make sure that you have the widest possible audience for your film. That, like, again, it looks incredible. I love that trailer. As always, I have all the faith in the world in you. You've got an excellent team you're working with. An early congratulations. I cannot wait to see it.
Thank you. Thanks.